We saw the cinematic for Midnight and how the Light, Army of the Light came to help. Well, it looks like they didn't just come to help. It looks like they came to come, or I should say came to stay in the city of Silvermoon. That's right. The Light's army has gone insane. Silvermoon is now occupied? Oh no. Paladins have been a problem for a long time. I mean, they're the most played class in the game. They're like a scourge on this earth. And here they are once again causing problems. This is really bad. Let's see what Doran, the Teller of 1,000 Truths, has to say about how Silvermoon is being occupied by Paladins.
So, we knew that we would see the bad side of the Light in this expansion, but we didn't know it would happen from the start, as the Light army has gotten absolutely crazy as we had seen so far in the Midnight beta. I'm talking completely disrespecting and disregarding the Blood Elven leaders, but it has gotten so bad that they started like literally just taking Blood Elven property, and even worse, they started straight out just arresting prominent Blood Elves on their own authority, completely disregarding Lord Tamar's demands to release them.
This reminds me.
Is now only 1/3.
This reminds me of that. This reminds me of the Game of Thrones shit that went down. You guys remember that? Like those priests in Game of Thrones that like took over the city, and they were just like executing people, making rules, and all kinds of shit. I forgot what their name was. I forget everything. But this definitely reminds me of that kind of story trope, where you have like these guys who came in, they helped, they righted some ships, and now they're like overextending their power.
And the citizens are already saying that these guys are as bad as the Scourge, and some are even contemplating abandoning the Light for good. So what is going on? What has gotten into the Light army, and have they really just straight out occupied Silvermoon? While having the best deals on the market for all games and software, Gamivo just added mobile top-ups for your favorite mobile games with the best prices that you can get, with my Gamivo link in the description below. Best of all, if you use my code DORON, your discount will be even bigger, so make sure to use my link in the description and the code and check out Gamivo. So, remember the opening cinematic when we had seen the Army of the Light being summoned, and we saw it as a bit of like a clutch moment.
It was a cool
the
moment.
Blood Elves in the last second by this noble army. Well, that was true to an extent. Looks like the situation.
I will say though, Lady Leandros kind of beat a bitch. I mean, she was kind of like a little scared puppy. I mean, you got Lorthamar out there ready to fight, and he's like, the time for prayer is over. We need to just fight. And then she runs out. Now, it did work out in her favor. She actually did end up saving them by bringing the Army of the Light in, which was a really badass moment in the cinematic. I don't really understand why people hate on this cinematic at all. I thought it was a pretty good one. But this whole moment here was really what made it. The Army of the Light coming through, and it turns out that these are actually player characters and stuff. That's a nice little piece of lore.
Is a little bit more complicated. We first didn't even really know who this was. Like, we would believe that this is the Light army, like the Light Arati Emperor army, and
that's what I thought.
It is actually the Army of the Light. And now we discovered that Liadrin's appeal to the Light caused a projection, which caused a lot of Light worshippers to take up the call to arms to defend the Sarwell. But the army led by Tyrellian is actually called the Vanguard of the Light. It's also the Light army we had seen before in Legion, but combined with paladins and priests from across the world that were teleported to the sun.
Yes, so she's summoning us. Yes, Blizzard confirmed that the moment where the Army of the Light came through the Sunwell it's player characters. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a moment that was summoning all these paladins from all across Azeroth to come and help defend the Sunwell, and those paladins are the players.
Long story short, a lot of these guys are not very nice, and it is getting more and more evident by the day. If you're a history buff, it kind of feels like the Crusades into the Byzantine Empire. Now, it was actually evident from the start that there will be a little bit of friction, like some cause for future faction conflict, and originally Blizzard told us that Silvermoon will be 2/3 Horde and 1/3 neutral, but turns out it's actually the other way around, and we are figuring out all of this right now as we got the opening scenario.
Basically, old Silvermoon's layout is belongs to the Horde, and the new Silvermoon, or the parts that were expanded beyond the old Silvermoon borders, that's all cross-faction. And it turns out, to kind of be a 2/3 cross-faction, 1/3 only for the Horde, which I will be taking over with a giant 40-man raid.
And a lot of progress in Midnight. Let's just say that the situation is really getting out of hand and the Light Army is getting tyrannical
Ripper.
right at the gate, and it's not even like subtly tyrannical at all. Like the elves are literally thinking that they want to abandon the light, and a lot of citizens are getting really rebellious. So the bad blood starts almost immediately with the opening of Midnight between Lortimer and Tyrellian, especially in the opening battle when Lortimer wants to focus on saving civilians from the Void Invasion, while Tyrellian in a way calls him a coward for not fighting more. Tyrellian here even gets into an argument with his son Arator. It is clear from the start that these light guys really don't respect Lortimer and the Blood Elven sovereignty, and they're acting accordingly, like saying things like how the light only guides them. In a way, they kind of see...
Well, one thing about the light and paladins is that like they drop their their race doesn't matter, their origins don't matter. None of that matters anymore. You are now one with the light. You now serve the light, and that is your only affiliation, which is nice. Like it does kind of, it drops racial borders and stuff like that. Like unless you're talking about the Scarlet Monastery, which for some reason their worship of the light made them more racist. They became a cult of the light, kind of. Typically, the light drops, you drop all other allegiances. Like you rip up your passport, basically. You belong to no place. You are just there to serve the light. So all these paladins show up, including elven ones, and they don't have any allegiance to Silvermoon. They don't. So yeah, like they're like, screw Lorthamar and we're gonna do what's best for the light, and it's gonna create a problem because now you got a massive army that has been summoned into your city. They've just defended your city, so you feel like, well, maybe we owe them something, but now they're kind of taking over your city. So there's some politics going on in there.
As inferior, as they have to be the ones to defend them, and they only follow the light. Now, this is actually true to an extent. I mean, these people are risking their lives, but it really appears that they're not the heroes we thought they were, as they're not really risking their lives to save the Blood Elven people and quote the last, but they're just following the call of the light to battle the Void. As you may know, cosmologically, the light has always battled the Void. They have been the biggest arch enemies in the entire universe.
I wonder if this comic is going to become relevant again. This was such like a big moment, and this came out, I don't know when, this came out during Legion, I think. And it was like, oh, this is how it all ends. And that's what Blizzard described it as. They're like, this isn't right now. This is like the final battle. This is a look into the future. And we got like really old, scarred up Anduin here. And he's getting up for what, the final battle against the Void. That's what's about to happen. But Anduin doesn't look old. This is like a badass version of Anduin. He still looks... I actually thought after Shadowlands, he was going to be grayed out. You guys remember when he went Death Knight, his hair turned white. I thought it was going to stay that way, and we were going to get this scruffed out version of Anduin post-Shadowlands, but we didn't. So I wonder if this is still canon. Like, this is actually going to happen, this moment where Valen's telling old Anduin it's time for the final fight against the Shadow. We'll see.
They have been the biggest arch enemies in the entire universe, and they fight at every chance they get. This time, it is actually no different.
Was that when they created Kalia? No, that was different. That's a different moment. This is supposed to be way beyond that. This is in the future.
It's just the Blood Elves are kind of caught in the middle as collateral damage, and it is evident that this strife is only going to expand further and further. This is not even my speculation, like, it's literally getting this bad, and let me just give you a few scenarios that we have discovered so far in the beta. So, aside from the fact that Tyrellian himself just constantly disagrees with Lortimer, who is their host and the leader of the Quotalas, like the entire place, even the Light Army higher-ups are being incredibly disrespectful. I mean, they completely dismissed his authority. This Light Army leader, literally after having a disagreement with Lortimer, immediately, like after getting out of earsight from him, just tells his troops to take any weapons they find and see fit to the Sunworld that are not nailed down, like pretending he has absolutely zero authority. Aside from the disrespect though, they're literally even policing themselves within Quotalas, and they start arresting elves without even consulting with Lortimer. For example, while Umbric was trying to get calculations for the Void Storm from around the Sunwell, the Light Army literally arrests him on their own authority, with Lortimer demanding his release, but they have zero care for his demands. Other than this, they made Silvermoon their home base, and it really does appear that the Alliance part, like the neutral part, is really old funneled through the Army of the Light, so that is how the Alliance got access to the Blood Elven capital.
So they're taking it over. They're taking it over completely. They're policing it even. Now, he describes it as being more of the Alliance side than the Horde side. Is it the Alliance's fault? I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting because the Army of the Light does contain members of the Horde too.
As a lot of people were shocked initially, most of Silvermoon is actually neutral, so 2/3 of the city are accessible to the Alliance. Of course, keep in mind the city has been significantly enlarged, all that ruined parts from before have been fixed, so Silvermoon is completely different, but still, the Blood Elves barely have any control over their own capital. Now, this resentment and occupation can even be seen from regular citizens. As I said, they had also arrested other Blood Elves for their own reasons, not just Unbreak, and some citizens literally say that the presence of the Vanguard of the Light oddly reminds them of when Arthas took control of the city when he marched in with the Scourge. Obviously,
wow.
a lot
That
of
bad?
exaggeration, but it is very clear that they detest the Army of the Light, and it's not just playful banter. Some Blood Elves like Elastor Bloodsworn, who, by the way, was an actual advisor to Prince Kel'Thas himself, he is the guy that literally co-founded the Blood Knight Order. In a way, he created the Blood Elven Paladins. He starts detesting the Light and says that the Elves should abandon it entirely and that they should seek more potent and alternate power sources. So far, while the Blood Elven Kingdom is completely vulnerable from the attack of the Void, which is absolutely massive, and keep in mind, I mean, the Void is not after the Blood Elves, they just decided to use this point on Azeroth as the entry point because of the Sunwell, but they're not after the Elves, so this...
Oh yeah, Arthas wasn't after the Elves either. He wanted the Sunwell too, and they were just in the way. And this is just another thing of, oh, the Elves are in the way, gotta kill them. I mean, that's what the whole Dead Scar was. I wonder if we're going to actually play through that scenario, by the way, because we have this new lore walking thing going down with the Elves. I wonder if we're going to get to do the Dead Scar again. I know you do it if you play through the Blood Elf Heritage Armor campaign. You do a little bit of Dead Scar stuff. But now with the Dead Scar healed and everything, I wonder if we're going to get some new lore about that. I'm sure we will. But this whole thing with the Light, don't forget, even the Light is going wild in the cities a little bit, or in the outskirts of the city. Because there's these like bubbles of light where the Dead Scar has been healed, where like nature is running wild and becoming very aggressive because it's like over light forged or something. A lot of weird light shit going on in this expansion, which makes sense. We're getting a Void expansion, the light's going off a bit.
Defense is not really the defense of just Quotalas, but the defense of Azeroth as a whole, as we know that Xal'atath is really after the World Soul itself. However, the Light does see itself as the defenders, but not just of Azeroth, but of Light itself, and they're really taking orders from the Cosmological Light. They're so far disregarding everything that is happening in Quotalas. As we can see, not only does the leader himself, Turellian, constantly disregard everything Lord Tamar says, but a lot of the Army of the Light is just acting like bandits. They're arresting Blood Elves on their own authority, causing serious resentment from the local populace. Keep in mind, I mean, some parts of the Army of the Light, like Dothraxia, have gotten even more fanatical. They even turned on the Light Army itself, although I think there are a bit more things here at play here, maybe something with the Dread Lords. They have a full video on this, but it does look like the old theory of the Light bad might not actually be that far from the truth. I mean, we know that we would see the bad side of the Light in this expansion. Blizzard told us about this ages ago, but looks like it's happening right from the start. There are also other hints for future faction conflict, so it's the Alliance, the Light Army, and the Void that is turning against the Blood Elves, in a way, putting them in a really bad spot. Of course, we will see how the situation develops, but I mean, the Light is already tyrannical, like right out of the gate from the start, and I feel like it is only going to get worse, much worse as the time goes by, and who knows what
I'd imagine so. I wonder if we're going to get more Scarlet Monastery lore, because that is certainly like one of the worst versions of the Light, right? Like fanatical Light, super racist, just ready to blight everything that doesn't take on the Light. And then there's the whole thing freaking happening in Draenor, right? An alternate Draenor with God, what's her name? The Draenei chick. She crazy. She's gone on like a literal Light crusade over there. So that whole thing's going down too. We'll see if all that plays out. There's plenty of examples of bad Light users out there.
Going to happen by the end of Midnight. I don't think Silvermoon is really going to remain neutral for long. Thanks for watching. Check out the new zone that was just added to Quotalas, which could indicate something in the future could be happening in this place in Midnight by clicking on the screen. And also check out my video on Greek mythology and the Titans that I've recorded live on site in Italy by clicking on the screen as well.
Nice video from Doran. It's interesting, the last thing he said there, that like Silvermoon could be going back to not being cross-faction at the end of this expansion. That would be a big surprise. I don't know. Would they do that? After building it all out, just make it irrelevant again and make it just a Horde city? I'm sure Horde players would be very happy with that. Overall, yeah, the Light doing Light things, getting a little bit over Light Forged. I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. Nice video from Doran, though.